Welcome to Matters of DeCorum. I'm Scott Corum. This is what matters to me. A couple of dungeon mastering tips today in the form of a story. As well as the Manhattan Beach group. I've talked a lot about them in the past. One thing that I really like about that group is that I don't have to be super careful with them. There are some groups and some games that you've got to show some restraint. You've got to be careful if you don't want to kill everyone. And that's not generally the kind of game I'm trying to run. I don't mind it when people are concerned or worried or pretty sure that they might die, but I'm not out to kill people. I don't want PCs dropping like flies. I like people to get involved with their PCs and have stories and long arcs that they can tell. At the same time, I want the players to feel that their characters are threatened, that they have to deplete resources to keep their characters going, that there's a level of tension and stress. I want folks to breathe hard and start shouting, "Oh crap," in the middle of situations because they don't think they're going to be able to make it out, and to reach deep into their personal resources and pull out that thing at the last second that's going to save everyone. Not every group can do that. And that's okay. That takes a lot of time together and work and effort. And when you've got a good group of folks, that kind of stuff will happen. I like to DM so that that behavior comes out regularly, weekly if possible. So, the group has reached 9th level. This is fairly powerful. And despite the fact that I have decided that challenge rating is just a number, I throw some pretty rough stuff at them and they manage it. They are concerned during the fights. I manage to worry, hurt, concern them during the fight. The biggest problem I have in the group is the Paladin because he's got this monstrous armor class, but the Paladin has a failing in that everything that he has done in character advancement has been, all of the special abilities that he's chosen and his magic spells, everything he's got has gone into protecting the other player characters, which makes it easier on me because all I have to do is seriously threaten the other player characters, and the Paladin is busy and stressed and under tension. And the other problem with having a character with an armor class that high, especially one who really cares about the people around him, is that the only thing that I can kill him with or even hurt him with are area of effect attacks. Now, a monster with magic spellcasting ability will throw himself at the Paladin for one turn and maybe die before he realizes, you know what, I gotta throw the fireball. And fireballs suck. Fireballs suck. Anything where armor class doesn't matter and you just have to make a saving throw instead, yeah. I always have to have at least one of those on standby in a fight, but this story isn't about a fight. Well, it is and it isn't. It's about someone being late to the game. I had a long city encounter all set up, and this particular campaign is all about exploring this land that I've created, and they go from city to city, finding out what the problem in the city is and fixing it, and exploring it and getting to know the people and the different cultures. And they're doing a little bit of world building and spreading trade and travel, whatnot. And I've got a good one set up. And it really kind of counts on all the players being there who are going to be there that day. But as with many games where you have people coming to a physical location and not just doing stuff online, you got people who have to make a longer drive than others, and I live in Los Angeles, and the game's in Manhattan Beach, and there are folks who have to come from north of the Sepulveda Pass. So traffic is often an issue, and someone who is trying to get there for the game has got a long haul and problems, and they might be late. It happens. Everyone but one player, let's call him Brian, has made it to the game. And we know Brian's going to show up, and he is doing his damnedest to get there. I do not want to start the city adventure without him there, as part of it is just literally designed for his character. But they've got to travel to that city from the last city that they were at. And there is a river between the two cities. So, okay, river trip. I will pass the time until Brian arrives with a river trip. They hire a raft big enough for the party's stuff. They send the big carriage with all the paladin's retinue and special equipment and horses. He's got his magical steed, and that's it. That goes back home with the squire. And they hire some boatmen and the raft to take them to the next city. Sanction. They have been at the city of Lookout. Lookout is at the top of a set of cliffs. Actually, there's a couple of sections to Lookout. There's a part that's built on top of the sea cliffs, and then there's a part that they've built on the surface of the ocean from the wrecked flotsam and jetsam of warships and everything else that's crashed up against an entire continental shelf. Just enough to be another city, but entirely made out of junk. Or as I called it in the maps, look out above and look out below. I didn't realize it was a pun until I said it a couple of times in game, and then I had to treat it like I'd meant that all along. Sometimes my brain is faster than my brain is. So, the city that they're going to, Sanction, from, where did I have it? Lookout. They're going to Sanction. Sanction is built on the edge of a lake in the middle of an elven forest. It is at the base of another set of mountains, and it is the source of most of the rivers in the northern half of the continent where they're at. So, one, it has to be a magical river. Why? Because it is flowing uphill. It's okay. The lake that it comes from is called Gaia's Gift Lake. It's divine, it's blessed, it's magical. Sure. That river flows uphill from Sanction to Lookout to feed out to the sea over a waterfall. Beautiful stuff. Now the party has some problems because they are traveling downhill upriver. You can only do stuff like this in games with magic or weird physics or what have you, but that's a unique opportunity because that's not just going to be a regular old river trip. Vic, at this point, says, what about a random encounter? I said, oh, I'll throw in a random encounter. I rolled it. It wasn't good. I'll get to that. Full disclosure, I rolled it, I ignored the roll, and I picked the worst possible thing it could be. I had to pass time. I didn't know when Brian was going to show up. So, you're on a raft. A flat raft being pulled along the side of the river by 3 amateur rivermen. There's not a lot of travel on this river, once or twice a season for trade. So these guys don't really, they're not master boatsmen or anything. They're merchants who happen to be able to pull the raft close to the shore because it gets deeper further out. Quite a bit deeper, as it turns out. And so you've got all these folks on a flat raft with inexperienced boatmen on uphill rapids facing downhill. I announce there will be 3 dex checks. Everyone picks up dice, boom, boom, boom. Oh, I made one, I failed one, I made one. It's like, no. We're going to have to deal with this one at a time. I'm passing time. Plus which, when the Game Master says I need 3 dex checks, you don't just assume that the result of the dex check you just made is something that can be hand-waved away, and we're just going to go on with the no. Sometimes I deliberately complicate things because I'm not just passing time. I'm trying to add to the story. I'm trying to add to the lore. And right at that time, I'm trying to demonstrate how friggin' dangerous it is to be on a rapidly moving river that is flowing contrary to nature. A few people fail the dex checks. There's the barbarian who always fails the dex check. Paladin made it that time, but you had at least one person go in the water. Okay, so I'm in the water. The sorceress had thrown a spell so that everyone, they did a ritual casting so everyone could breathe water. Oh, so it's fine. So I get in the water and I'm okay, right? Well, no, you're not okay. Drowning is the least of the problems that you have when you fall into a rapid river. Give me a con save. You're getting bashed against the rocks on the bottom. Constantly. Hard. Fail the con save, take a d6. Failed the con save, took a d6. Now there's a problem because she's injured under the water, and anyone going in the water after her is going to have the same difficulty. The barbarian didn't have anything in swimming and had just no ability to roll to save her life when it came to water. For some reason, the character constantly finds herself in the water in these situations. Well, low dex save, I suppose. And so the barbarian's sorceress assistant, they're life partners, and there's a magical bond custom thing. The barbarian is essentially the sorceress's familiar. Sorceress is whips up her magic broom and hops on it and uses it to fly through the water. You know, it's difficult, but I didn't want to kill anyone at this point in time. I didn't want to kill anyone, period. I could have complicated that because flying through water is different from flying through air, but magic, so okay. She goes in, she gets the barbarian out. There's a problem. The party spends a good while before the second dex save to tie off ropes and make safety precautions and tie themselves off so that they'll get bonuses or not have to make the next dex save, which they'll have to make. Second dex save comes along, and now they got bonuses. They're more or less okay. The sorceress and the barbarian have gotten on the broom and said, the hell with this, we're not doing that anymore. Going into the water isn't cool. We're going to ride above you folks. And so, well, you're going to ride along with them, or are you going to take off ahead? Well, they took off ahead a little bit. That's, And they see a massive shape heading up the river towards the raft. They could ask for a random encounter. They race back. Everyone's like, oh, third deck save. I'm like, no, we're not there yet. No. Random encounter first. Then you can have the third deck save. Races back to let folks know that there's something coming when a dragon turtle swims under the raft. Dragon turtles are gargantuan things. They love to flip boats over and eat everyone out of them. They're usually ocean-dwelling creatures. They're just gargantuan, but it's a big river. There are some deeper sections coming up further ahead. They're territorial. There's magic. Dragon turtle. Challenge rating 17. They never find out, coincidentally, how many hit points the thing has, because they bypassed it a little bit. But It's between 200 and 300. It had a lot. Dragon turtle swims under it. Its head's out behind the thing. It's going to surface. It's going to be horrible because everyone's going into the water if they're lucky. Paladin jumps off the back of the off of the raft, and lands on its neck and tries to use command on it to make it stop being a problem. It saves. I rolled really well. It was a good idea, but it saved. Folks start gathering around and start throwing what attacks they can at it, and they're plinking off of it, but they're plinking off of it. They're not doing 300 points of damage in a round, no matter how good they are. Barbarian and Sorceress are getting ready to throw stuff at it because they don't want to get in the water. They're on the broom. They've got advantage. Turtle's turn. There's a thing on its neck trying to attack it for all it knows. So it stops having a neck. That was a few minutes of argument because, but I'm riding its neck. Yes, but it's a turtle. It stops having one. Nope, not today. So I ruled Paladin in the water. It's like, no, but I was riding its neck. I shouldn't be in the water. I'm like, okay, well, you can be off its neck and in the water, or you can be in its shell with it directly in front of its mouth. I looked down at how much damage the dang thing did with a bite, and the fact that it had enough bonuses to maybe actually peg the Paladin. And the look of worry on my face let the Paladin's player, who's Skyping in, see that maybe his best option was to be in the water, in plate mail. Now we have a problem. Well, we have a number of problems. Turtle is no longer about to surface because it's concerned with this thing underwater. The fighter, the half-Goliath fighter, jumps off the back, attacks the turtle. The turtle puts its head back out to try and bite the Paladin. It pulls its head in, Paladin falls off, comes out to bite. Misses, but only just barely. The fighter jumps on the back of the thing's neck and Vorpal Sword and crits. Yay, cut the thing's head off. Well, you need to read the description of Vorpal Blade because, yeah, they're magical, and yeah, if you crit, you're going to cut the head off of your target. If it is reasonable that you have cut the head off of a being of that size with your weapon. Otherwise, you do a crap load of additional damage, but you haven't cut its head off. A Vorpal Sword is a turn the monster off weapon, and, you know, I let them have a Vorpal Sword, so it's not like I wasn't expecting that, but nah, you're not going to cut a battleship-sized turtle's head off with a sword. Not unless you are the product of 5 robot lions coming together to form Voltron. You are not cutting off a dragon turtle's head with a sword, Vorpal or not with one hit. Did a crap load of damage to it. There's an extra bunch of dice to throw, and it got hurt, but it wasn't dead. By a long shot, challenge rating 17, Dragon Turtle. Mucho hit points. It is about to go south. The Sorceress, 9th level Sorceress, reaches deep into her personal resources and polymorph goat. Now, normally this is the end of it. Oh, you've turned this 17 challenge rating monster with over 300 hit points into a goat with 4. This should no longer be a problem. But you know what? Brian's not there yet. There is a problem inherent in the physics of this. And normally you don't bring physics into D&D. You know, it's magic. You don't have to explain it, and physics doesn't matter. But this time, you know what? Yeah, I kind of did, because I wanted it to, and it was funnier. You had a gargantuan battleship-sized turtle under the water, and suddenly, all of a sudden, instantaneously, it is the size and shape of a goat. The problem that is about to be encountered is cavitation. There is a hole in the water the size of a dragon turtle that is currently occupied only by a goat. This hole is directly under the raft. Water flows in to try and fill this hole. There is a raft and a paladin involved in this water at the time, and as it so happens, a Goliath. Two characters in the water and the raft, and they all kind of collide together, and there are saves involved. The raft saves, the folks on the raft save, Paladin doesn't, well, he can breathe water, so he's fine. He gets bashed against the rocks kinda hard, takes some damage. So does the Goliath, but they're going to be okay, provided they can ride this out. If you suddenly have that much extra water flowing, you've taken your Category 3 rapid and turned it into a Category 8 rapid for just a couple of turns, and that's an issue. The raft is starting to come apart. Wasn't designed for this kind of stress anyway. Inexperienced boatmen built it. Now comes the biggest and fastest argument I may ever have seen in a role-playing game session. The goat is drowning. No one cast any spells to make sure it could breathe water. The goat has 4 hit points. Its constitution isn't that high. It is drowning. It is about to die. The moment the goat dies, it turns back into a dragon turtle. A number of the players understand what this will mean because they're still in the vicinity of the weekend raft with all the rest of the player characters on it. The sorceress is like, okay, it's a goat, kill it, and starts launching shit at it. The paladin grabs the goat in a headlock underwater, shields it from the attacks from the sorceress, and throws a cure light on it to keep it from dying. At which point a fight breaks out. It's not a literal fight between the sorceress and the paladin, but it was no, we got to kill the goat. We can't kill the goat. You got to kill the goat. The goat's the monster. You got to kill the goat. If we kill the goat, it turns back into a dragon turtle. But it's a dead dragon turtle. But it grows up and which essentially boiled down to an argument between how much of a dick I was going to be. Kill the goat, it turns back into a dragon turtle. Fight over, or kill the goat, it turns back into a dragon turtle. Everyone dies. And different players had different opinions about how far I was willing to go with the whole physics of size change in a river thing. I looked over at the door. Brian didn't come in. So, I was going to deal with it in the most interesting way possible. Which was physics. The goat drowns. It dies. There's nothing the paladin can do to save it for that long. Between that and magic missiles fired at the goat, because magic missiles don't miss their target. Goat died. Horribly. And turned back into a dragon turtle. Paladin goes flying. Paladin steed transforms into a water animal and gathers the paladin. The Goliath is between the dragon turtle and the raft as it expands. The Goliath has just enough time to invoke his ring. He has a genie. He has a ring that contacts a genie. Rather than start demanding wishes from the genie or, using the genie as cannon fodder, putting the genie between him and danger, he has struck up a relationship with the genie. This is the same group that saved the corrupted infernal genie at the risk of their own lives and souls. So this is very much carrying on with that. He gives the genie gifts. They have conversations. They don't have you are the genie and you will grant me wishes relationship. You've got a, hey, how's it going? You guys need anything kind of relationship. And that saved their behinds at this particular moment, because the genie, who had been watching, but there are rules. He could watch, he might be able to take action, but it would cost him to do so. The Goliath says, at that point, asks, is there anything you can do, because we're all about to die? Raft gets flung into the air and gently floats back down, giving the river enough time to settle down to having a dragon turtle corpse suddenly in it. Rapids going both directions from it for a few turns before it settles down, and the corpse starts drifting uphill downriver, where it's going to form a dam fairly soon, but that is someone else's problem. The raft floats a foot above the river for the remainder of their trip. The better the story the genie has to tell his people back in the elemental plane of air, the more favorable he is, and this was quite a story for him. The paladin hops back on the raft, the Goliath climbs back on board. The boatmen are catatonic in fetal positions, holding on to the ropes that are remaining on the raft for dear life. They are no longer going to be in this position. They're done. They are completely done. They are ex-boatmen. They are going to go home, be merchants after a long convalescent stay where someone's going to feed them soup because they are too terrified of everything to feed themselves for a couple of months. Harrowing. Everyone dries off. The prestidigitation spell is used to clean things up a little bit. They go and they find the dragon turtle's hoard, which was substantial because it had been feeding off of the magic of the river, and it was a giant river pirate. It didn't really know what to do with the cash, but it was smart and knew that people liked it, so it kept a whole bunch of gems and gold and a few magic items. There's a challenge rating 17. You rolled on that treasure table, and folks got good stuff out of it. They camp by the dragon turtle's empty lair for the night, get back on the river. Brian walks in the door. Like I said, I don't try to kill player characters. That's not what I set out to do. I set out to challenge player characters. And sometimes I have an entire book full of monsters. I can go buy 3 more books full of monsters for 5th edition D&D right now and have stuff to throw at them for the rest of the campaign, because I plan on taking them up to 20th. That will challenge them constantly. And a good portion of the rules on Dungeons and Dragons, the majority of them are combat related. How do you have fights? How do you use these powers in fights? How do you do damage? How do you hit? How do you protect yourself? How do you heal afterwards? And that's true for most role-playing games. Combat is a big part of it. Conflict drives stories. Conflict does not always mean monsters. Conflict does not always mean combat. By the time they got to the 3rd deck save on the raft, they were floating. It was moot. Conflict can come in the form of a person versus their enemy, a person versus their own inner demons, and we'll talk about that one next week, because there's some moral and ethical issues that are actually really entertaining to tackle in a role-playing game format. But when you have a person against their environment, against nature, against circumstance, I love doing that as a game master. I love throwing things, okay, you can kill any monster I can pull out of this book and they have no chance of hitting you. Here's a river. Here's a river. Here's a mountain. Here's a cliffside. here's a marsh, here's a desert. And yeah, you can prep for a lot of that stuff, and and they're going to stop and they're going to set up watches and they're going to do all the proper Dungeons and Dragons party things. How do you make that A, interesting, and B, challenging? Not lethal. How do you make this deadly? Deserts are deadly by their nature. Every environment is deadly by their nature if you don't know what you're doing in them. You can die in the middle of a well-regulated city or in a forest if deadfall clamps on your head. There are 1,000 ways any particular place you can go can be a challenge and an effort to survive. And what I'm going for, the effect I am trying to achieve, is that at the end of the game, everyone has a story to tell. Yeah, awesome. That's great. But they'll have that story to tell as a result of having been challenged, of there having been tension, and of there being a genuine question as to whether they were all going to make it out alive. Not whether are we all going to die. That's unlikely in a well-run game. Someone's going to make it out alive. Someone's going to run at the right time, or someone's going to use the advantage gained from the falling of their comrades, or pull something out of their behind, because people are brilliant when it comes to personal danger. Are we all going to make it out? Is the weakest member of the party going to survive? Are we going to lose someone? Because these people have been together since practically 0th level. They have gone not through 9 levels of experience together. They're a family. They're more than an adventuring party. They know each other. They know each other very well. Refer to each other by first name. They have beaten adversity together. They are a group. You have a good gaming group. You have a group composed of people who get along fairly well, even if there's occasionally conflict, but they get along fairly well, and they make up characters that have not necessarily an inherent connection, but don't have any immediate antithesis to one another. Oh, I'm good, you're evil, we have to fight. You avoid having that in the character generation process. You can have these parties of people that are groups of legend. You get the Fellowship of the Ring without Boromir. Or maybe with Boromir, but he's not so much of a dick. I know, it was the ring, but still. You have these legendary heroes who draw their strength from one another, and you threaten. That gives you as a game master more to threaten. You endanger one of them, you provide tension for all of them. You have someone go after the weakest member of the party. Oh, everyone else will curb stomp that fool because you don't do that. And you stand together, stand strong. Fight one, fight all. So, in short, River. When you don't want to throw another fight, or when you don't think that a fight is going to challenge these people in a way that is going to be meaningful for them or their players, feel free to use the environment and complicate the living crap out of it. Just throwing random saves in there. Give me a dex save 12, give me a con save 18 when you're doing D&D, and someone's not going to make that. I can hit someone in full armor at high level, but can you hold your breath for 5 minutes? I hope you find this useful. If you have any questions about how to use techniques like this, or stories about stuff that you've done yourself to complicate the lives of player characters, leave me a comment. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video so much, go ahead and give me a thumbs down. Feedback is feedback. Questions or comments or suggestions about things you'd like me to talk about, or even if you just like to yak a little D&D, leave me a comment. I love getting comments. You'll love leaving me a comment. If you want to see these videos as soon as they come out and give me a little bit more reach in YouTube landy, subscribe. Don't forget to hit the little bell notification thing next to the subscribe button so you actually get the notifications. If you really dug this video, I invite you to hit me up on my Patreon page at www.patreon.com and consider donating something, anything to help and helps me to produce these videos more regularly and maybe with a little bit more quality. New webcam, still kind of settling into it, but I'm liking it so far. In the meantime, thank you for watching. I'm Scott Corum. This is What Has Mattered to Me. And I'll see you next time on the next Matters of DeCorum.